Today we are going to be discussing praxeology, and praxeology is the science of human action. This work and concept was originally developed most notably by Ludwig von Mises in his treatise, Human Action. This is a first edition, and in the first couple chapters, he lays out praxeology as being the foundation for all our economic principles. He's saying that this is not what economics could be or a theory of, but that this is what economics is. So the word praxeology is praxis and ology, the study of or the science of human action. And really, praxeology is man's ability to act, to pursue goals and ends using his means, constrained by the scarcity of resources in the world, including time, and in his life. And what he pursues is ultimately through action. And Mises describes human action as being purposeful behavior. And it's very important that we can establish the line of what human action is in general versus the ideas that lead someone to act. That is more psychology and psychoanalysis. So in the study of praxeology and human action, we're not so concerned with why someone pursues what they pursue. That comes from their own ideas and beliefs. We're mostly saying that people act. That is why we consider a tautology, that you cannot not act in the world. To remain sitting and lethargic, even silent, in some sense is still considered an action. But to also combine your labor and your ability to control, to create things in the world is also an action. But it is considered as not being any more or less of an action than just scrolling through your phone or sitting on the couch and watching a movie, per se. According to Mises, he who only wishes and hopes does not interfere actively with the course of events and the shaping of his own destiny. So human action is essentially saying that people choose their ends and they aim at them and pursue them using their means. Now, their means may be faulty or be considered a wrong decision in the post perspective of that action, but we're always choosing in the world because choices are giving preferences to something. To watch this lecture, you're choosing to watch this lecture over another one. Now, you may watch another one because this one has insufficient material, but the point is that every moment we're doing something, we're giving choices, and this will go into our subjective valuations in a future lecture. So in essence, we have our subjective values because all values come from our mind, what we believe. Of course, we get ideas both from what we create and society, what society tells someone what they should value. But the essence is that people choose what to act upon. The ideas, again, are more or less besides the point for the moment of explaining the theory of human action. We're saying that people act upon essentially what is an alleviation of uneasiness. We act in order to achieve a higher state of satisfaction, a removal of this uneasiness or perceived removal of this uneasiness. Now, these are essentially defined as our ends, and we use our means to achieve our ends. So this implies a world of causality, of cause and effect, as the premise, the operating foundation for our actions. If there was a world with no cause and effect, we couldn't even comprehend that because we act according to our ability to achieve something. This is the belief that we will have a removal of this uneasiness, as well as the belief that we will achieve a higher state of satisfaction. So in the world of acting man, he chooses and at the same time also renunciates or omits his other options of what he can act upon. And in essence, this is demonstrating your preference by what you do at the moment of action. It's important to note that human action is not considering behavior or a reflexive action such as sneezing, or if someone like a doctor hits my knee and I kick. Maybe I kick him on purpose, but that is an action. But a reflexive behavior is not what we're considering as action. What counts for us is man's total behavior, his ability to choose and to remove this uneasiness. In a perfect state of affairs, there would be no action because perfection implies a non-change state of affairs, an equilibrium in essence. That is why equilibrium is really non-existent in the world, because then there would be no impetus to change. So it is this imperfect conditions, this imperfect world that we live in, that kind of incentivize us to act, to set into motion. And again, the reasonings of anger or excitement is not what we're dealing with in human action per se. Although these ideas of what drives a person to do what they do is very important, that is of the realm of psychology and psychoanalysis. Economics is considered to be the best developed branch of praxeology, but we'll get into catalaxes, which is the science of market exchanges, and subjective valuations in future lectures. So praxeology does not distinguish between active and passive actions. Passive being referred to as a lethargic or enduring the current state of affairs is also an action, because in a sense it implies that someone prefers to endure the current conditions that they're in rather than acting in an active way to change their conditions. Perhaps they believe that trying to change is less satisfactory than remaining in the passive state of affairs that they're currently in. We can also regard human action as the striving for happiness. But again, what can be determined for someone as to what makes them happy is a subjective valuation, an internal belief. So we cannot claim that just doing X with the means of Y and Z will render a person more happy or less happy. It's really a subjective valuation. And I think a very important note about praxeology is it's considered not to be a normative science of what someone ought to pursue or what they should pursue. It is a descriptive science where it's saying that people act. However, it's also important to recognize that because we're human beings with our own feelings and emotions and thoughts and beliefs, we have to assert our values and make our lives normative in the sense of what we act upon. We strive for this, because we think this will alleviate our uneasiness. So in a way, the term moral can be described as an existing science that only through human beings and our flesh and elan vital can we act in the world and create things as well as pursue things. But human action itself is a science of means, not of ends. The ends, again, are the line that relegate, happiness, the psychology, the subjective values and beliefs that people pursue, why they pursue them. Human action is only saying that people do pursue these things. It is also an important note that we cannot go back in time. Time is, in a sense, always closing on us. So we have to act within these resources, the scarcity of time. And in essence, this is the universality of economics, is that we're always acting and trying to economize our time, because time, again, is scarce. We only have the time that is allotted to us. And although I know I probably wasted your time and I wish I could give you this time back, it is forever taken, and you may have made a mistake, but that is the beautiful thing, that you can always choose what next to do and what next to pursue. And I encourage you to pursue the next lecture.